This is the FMCG podcast. We speak with the leaders of today and hear their advice on how you can develop your leadership potential. Today we're joined by Paul and James of Food Circle Supermarket, and we're talking about waging the war on food waste. Stay tuned to hear how you can reduce your waste at home, what it's like to build a D2C category offering in food surplus, and where food surplus actually comes from. Let's get to it. Hi, good morning. My name's Rich and this is the FMCG podcast. We're Consumer Hub, and today we are joined by Paul and James of Food Circle Supermarket. Very excited to have two of the Yorkshire lads on the show talking about FMCG and some really interesting things, all to do with waging the war on waste. Paul, James, just give us a quick intro into you, the business, and what you're all about.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Paul.
I'm James.
And so what we are is Food Market, and we are an online retailer of healthy snacks, food and drink, and also things like nut butters and things. But with a big twist, and that twist being that we sell surplus food and drink. It could be short dated, old branding, old packaging, etc., etc. Loads of different reasons for the surplus I'm sure we'll go into. And some of the biggest brands out there, including Fulfill, Grenade, Kind Bar, Cliff Bar, etc., etc. So quite a unique retailer.
Yeah, and we came across you guys because we've had a few orders in for the office because we always like trying different snacks. And Harry, our marketing exec, who's our apprentice, he'd come across you guys just on LinkedIn and was like, "Oh, this is fantastic! We can try loads of new brands, and it's stuff that is surplus as well. So kind of really good to tap into that. So thank you for coming on the show. It's great to have you. But just something that I wanted to just pick up on to begin with on the intro is your slogan is less waste, more taste. Where did that come from? And also sort of why that particular slogan? Is it a bit of a summary of what you're all about? Just interested to kind of dig into that.
Yeah, I think we can credit this man Paul for coming up with that. I think we just wanted something quite snappy to sum up what we do, and we had a slogan before that was a bit wordy and a bit lengthy, and I think we just wanted something that's kind of quite punchy for our marketing and for our inbox sort of cards and stuff that we put in customers' orders.
Yeah,
and we just came across that, and we thought it just sums it up perfectly because we're trying to reduce waste and we're trying to give people access to these great healthy products. So yeah, it just kind of came naturally, I think.
Yeah. You know what? I was just trying to think. I can't even remember. I mean, I know this is a terrible answer, but I really can't remember how that. I think I think it was for the cards that we put in boxes. I just wanted something like a headline, snappy thing on there instead of trying to put loads of information on one piece of card. Like, number one rule in marketing for me is simple and straightforward. Yeah, and I think it was just a little thing on there just to summarise us, and thought that's actually quite a nice slogan. So it didn't start out as being our slogan for underneath the logo and stuff. It just
yeah.
But
we didn't brainstorm it or anything.
No.
It just
kind of happened. Yeah. But I mean, that leads me nicely into the next question, which is, where did your idea for your business come from? Because you guys have been going at this a while, haven't you? But you've only kind of just crept into our consciousness in the last kind of 6 months. When did you start, and where did your idea come from?
Yeah, so we both joined as graduates, business development executives, back in 2014 at a company called Company Shop. So they're based in not far from here in Barnsley. I'm from Sheffield, James is from Donny. So we started there, and they're amazing. They're one of the biggest surplus food redistributors in the UK. They've got superstores full of surplus food. So we started off helping out the buying team, bringing in new suppliers for them. Over the course of 3 years, really, we learnt our trade, and sort of I learned my sort of learning curve sort of expired there. We won quite a bit of business with Company Shop, like a couple of million quid in new suppliers and stuff. So we thought, I was like getting a bit bored, basically, and just wanted to start a business, and thought, where better to start than, after trying to figure out what business to start, why not start in surplus food? Because we've proven that we can, build supply relationships. It's just a means of making a platform to sell that stock on. So I pitched the idea to James of imagine having an online supermarket for surplus food, and it being healthy stuff, because protein bars and stuff were quite expensive. Thought, well, we know how to source stuff at a discount, i.e. surplus, pass that saving on to the customer, and sell it for cheaper, but also it's surplus food, so people can live healthy for less and save food waste at the same time. How amazing would that be? And we wouldn't have to, wouldn't have loads of capital to build a shop. Let's just do it online, because that's the way things are going in retail, which has never been truer at the moment. So I pitched it to James like in middle of 2017. Said like, I'm leaving. I'm going to do this. You want to do it with me? I won't be able to do it by myself. And James said, yeah. We saved up like 10 grand each, put 2K each into the business when we launched in January 2018. And it went from there. So yeah, that's how it started, really.
Oh, brilliant. So did you, I mean, that's a very lean, bootstrapped startup. I mean, it's often the case in my experience that, e-com ventures or, digi agencies, people go online, even though the costs are lower because you've not got the, the kind of the actual units, etc., retail units, you've still got high costs in terms of advertising and PPC. Did you have to throw a lot of that budget on marketing to begin with? Like, how did you sort of structure your spend? Because I imagine you have to be really careful on how you cut your cloth.
Yeah, it took us a while to twig onto that, actually. And I think that's why we had such a slow start, to be honest, because we didn't really see the power of paid online advertising, really, until about probably 6 or 8 months in, which is when we really started to turn a corner, when we were kind of getting desperate, if you like. We were running out of savings a little bit and starting to get to a point where we were thinking about getting jobs alongside the business as well. And things just sort of started to turn on that, really. That was one of our big epiphanies that sort of pushed us forward. But yeah, like you say, we did have a real bootstrapping mentality to start with, to such an extent where between us, we packed the first sort of 30-odd thousand orders that we ever had as a business before we hired our first employee about this time last year. And we basically did everything. I mean, Paul had a go at building our first website, even though he didn't have any coding experience. And we learned from that because we did it on the cheap and tried to do it ourselves, and it completely broke about 3 or 4 months in, and we had to bite the bullet and pay for Shopify, which at the time was quite a big cost. We started with like just a couple of grand. It's really been very much bootstrapped, and we've pretty much done everything between us up until the past 12 months or so, really. I mean, if you think about all the things that go into running a business, accounting, bookkeeping, all that sort of stuff, marketing, we didn't have anyone packing as well. We didn't have anyone on board to do any of those things for us, so we basically did it all ourselves as leanly as possible, really.
Love that. Yeah, I really appreciate your honesty there as well. Like, sounds like you had to sort of nail the learnings pretty quick. Did you go on any courses, or is it just YouTube videos, or just literally learning it on the fly, or?
Yeah, pretty much learning it on the fly. I mean, I did a business studies A level, so I had a bit of a skeleton kind of knowledge of how business works without ever, putting it into practice before then. And to be honest, our 3 years working at Company Shop were a really good kind of apprenticeship into the commercial world, and what to pay for stock and what to sell it at and all that sort of stuff. But we still had a lot to learn, really. But yeah, mainly just learning it ourselves, to be honest. Like, we went on a few courses, we've had a couple of mentors and stuff like that, but generally it's been about trying and failing and then tweaking things and learning as we go, really.
Yeah, Facebook ads was learn as you go. We started off doing £7 a day ad, and now, to now we spend obviously a hell of a lot more than that per day. It's just, we've never paid any agency to do our marketing, not one penny. We just learned as we've gone, and just tried stuff out. It's really not that complicated. Like, there's a lot of people that make out, pay me and I'll do your Facebook ads. But it's like, it's very simple. Once you get into it, it just takes once. But when you first look at it, you're like, God, how on earth do you do this? But and now we do stuff with TikTok, and TikToks, we'll probably get onto it. That's the next thing, I think, for e-commerce companies. But just got to test and learn and be open to, spinning lots of plates.
Yeah, right. No, that's great. Yeah, we've just started to branch out into PPC recently on LinkedIn, and we'd always been a bit wary of it. It just felt like very expensive, and it's made a massive difference to us as a recruiter. It's hugely upped our ability to kind of be efficient in the funnel, the advertising funnels that we're creating, because we do a lot of content anyway. We've just found it's just massively boosted all the stuff that we do. We kind of clocked that we did a lot of the really good creative stuff that lots of people find difficult, and actually we just needed a better channel to get it out there. And LinkedIn for us in our B2B market was the place to do it. And we sort of thought, oh, wow, why have we never done this before? But kind of like you're saying, you don't know what you don't know, do you, till you try it. But that's part of the fun of, owning a company, isn't it? And running with it. You get to sort of take the learnings yourself, don't you? And like you say with the marketing stuff, why would you want to sort of give somebody else your marketing to at your stage? Because, I mean, that is the bit where you're going to have most impact, isn't it? Where you want the most control, surely, is telling your story.
Yeah, I mean, we're quite fortunate in a way. I don't know if the word is fortunate, because we've obviously built the business on these kind of principles deliberately, but our model didn't really take that much selling to people that are into the sort of stuff that we sell, because we sell at such a good competitive price, good value for money and stuff like that. And, it's obviously very easy for people to place an order and get a delivery straight to their doors. So to be honest, as long as we can put across in a very simple way what we do, we kind of don't have to convince people that much. The main thing we have to convince people of is that we're actually sort of established and legit kind of thing, really, because it might seem too good to be true, but thankfully we've got a good level of like repeat customers. We've got a Trustpilot page that's doing really well and stuff like that now. So we've built out that kind of trust with people, but I think we are quite fortunate to have a model where the kind of benefits of it jump out at you straight away.
Yeah, you've got to keep it as especially like Facebook ads and stuff. You've got to keep it as to the point as possible. It's like the typical marketing mix, really. Price, how much is it? Product, what is it? Place, where do I go? Click here. It's that keep it as simple as that. Like the first ads we did, we were banging on about you can come and shop with us and you're saving food waste, and we sort of learned to go, people aren't going to click for that. You do that afterwards. So that's like your aftercare stuff or your peripheral content around the customer journey. Just to get them on there, you need to be straight to the point with, those three
Why
things.
should they shop?
Exactly.
Why should they shop with us? And that's what we've managed to do.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great point. Making it as easy for your shopper as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about because one of the things that we liked when we went on your website is that it felt like your website was completely optimized for us. Like, we're all kind of 30s and 20s in our office, and what we want in the office is energy drinks which are fun and relatively healthy, protein bars for breakfast snacks, and stuff that's basically pretty healthy and good and is not packed full of sugar and crap. And you absolutely delivered like the ideal sort of product category ranging for millennials and Gen Z, and just anybody that's kind of in an office being healthy or at home. I mean, how have you sort of shaped that? Has that been through insight, just through gut instinct? Like, what's because there's a lot of stuff out there in discount, isn't there? That just seems like people are just selling whatever they can get cheap, whereas it feels like you guys have really curated a very distinct category proposition. Just give us a bit of insight into the mindset there.
Yeah, that's a good point, and thanks for that. It's nice.
Thank you.
It's nice to hear. I think it's just from listening to customers, really. We always listen to our customers. Customers are always asking for brands and asking us to get stuff back in. So just over time, you really, really understand your customer profile. And those early days where we said, we'd hardly had any sales for the first 6 months, what we were doing was doing like market stalls and stuff, which were terrible for sales. But the very small amount of sales we got, we obviously interact with the customer who's buying from us, so you just know them and you know exactly what they look like, and their customer profiles are so important. So you just start, and we can tell you it's 18 to 34-year-olds that buy from us predominantly, and like 55% are female, or 55 to 60, and that's a good thing of doing online advertising as well. You can get loads of data. You just get to know who your customer is, and it's helpful that we're in that age bracket as well. So you can and that helps with like communication and your tone of voice and marketing, because it's like, talk to someone your own age. So yeah, it's just learning from customers and really listening to them.
And I think just to expand on that as well a bit more, I think in terms of the website, that's been a bit of both in terms of our own intuition and kind of feedback that we've had as well. Yeah. So over the years, we've had customers saying, can you have a section where you've got products that are under 200 calories per serving? Yeah, we can do that. So we put that section in. Can you have a category for low sugar? Put low sugar products in there, etc., etc. Excuse me. And we just listen to customer feedback really and build that out, because if there's enough people asking for it, then there's going to be other people out there that sort of want to see it too. And in terms of the sort of products that we get as well, we sort of when we set out to do this, the eventual aim, the long-term aim really still is to have a much broader range of products. But I think we settled on the health category and the sort of protein side of things, really, because we saw the demand for it for a start. As Paul said earlier, the price points that we could achieve, would make us competitive. But I think when you start a business, I think you've got to start with you've got to draw people in. You've got to have an audience that is out there and is consistent. If you're too scattergun, if we just had one protein bar on there and then loads of other random different stuff, you're not really appealing to a section of people. You just might be appealing to the odd person here and there. So I think that's important, really, to have a focus when you first start a business. So that's where we started. Excuse me, and we've just built on that, really.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, that's really interesting. I think one thing that stands out there is that you're obviously responding to your shoppers very quick and actually adding those bits onto the website they want, because that's actually more unique than you think. There's lots of brands out there, they're such purists in the way that they approach their business model that it's all about what's in their own head and how they communicate that, rather than that sort of dialogue with the shopper, which I think is more exciting anyway. If you are owning a business, surely you want that input, because you're going to get a more engaged community, aren't you?
Yeah, we've had it where we've I think this I like this product's going to do well, and it just doesn't, and it flops, and you've just got to go, well, the customer decides what, the market decides, doesn't it?
It is difficult to do, though, because everything that comes into your mind is a product of your own beliefs and your own kind of influences and everything like that. So it is really difficult to think, well, if I'm that person on the other side, what does it look like for me? So it is a difficult headspace to enter, but I think you just get a bit of an intuition for it, really, as you go along, really. Definitely.
Yeah. So should we just kind of take it forwards then? You covered quite a lot of the points that I wanted to cover off in the outline, but the one of the things that we noticed recently, which is really interesting, is you guys have got recognised by Forbes 30 under 30, didn't you? Tell us about that. How did that happen?
Yeah, we did. God, that was almost 2 months ago now. So basically, I'm actually 30 next week, so I made it just by the skin of my teeth. James got a couple of years on me. So an amazing guy called Jamie Crummy is one of the co-founders of Too Good To Go. So they're a massive, I think they're actually huge now. They're a surplus food retailer where you can go and buy like a magic bag of stuff, surplus food from like a Costa and Spar and Morrison's on an app, etc. So we're having a meeting with him, and he just said to us on the Zoom call, he said, "Oh, by the way, how old are you guys?" And we told him, he's like, "Well, I'm Forbes alumni." So when you get put on that list, you're then Forbes alumni. So you can nominate someone for next year. So we can now nominate someone for next year who we put to Forbes, and Forbes then decide. So it's sort of like, it's a bit of who you know with the Forbes thing. They don't just put you on there. You get like recommended, or you can actually nominate yourself, but I doubt anyone ever gets it if they nominate themselves.
Yeah, but we did have to apply, and we had to we had to give them a whole application and a write-up and everything about us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a strange one, really, because for me, I obviously know of Forbes, and I know Forbes is huge, but I don't think I really realised how big a deal it was until it got announced, and then we got absolutely flooded with LinkedIn requests and people being interested in sort of the story and stuff like that. And there's some, we're an amazing company on there as well. There's some like massive businesses on there that have done so well. And we kind of feel like, what's the word? Feel like minnows on there really in comparison, but it just shows you what a sort of honour it is for us to be on there among that sort of company, really.
Yeah, it's good for the business as well. Like, that's the main thing I really like it for, is for if we're pitching to new suppliers and stuff, we can be taken more seriously, really, and it sort of solidifies us as a genuine company and not just another run-of-the-mill sort of buyer of surplus food. It really stands us out as something unique, so we can say we've been recognised for it. But the personal thing, I don't want to be like overly modest, just like the podcast stuff, but it really doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't bother me, but like I don't like.
He's not wearing his I'm on the Forbes list t-shirt today, so he's pretending to be not bothered about it.
I was saying to someone else the other day, my dad was like, "Oh, put it in your email signature." I'm not doing that. It's a bit, no.
It is a bit knobbish, isn't it? You want it to be there, so people notice it, but you don't want to be rubbing it in people's noses, do you?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
though.
Bit of shameless self-promotion, but yeah, we're not really big on that. But
Yeah.
not everyone's the same. Way.
But no, it was nice. It was good, to be fair. Yeah, it was really good. It's I don't know who I'm going to nominate next year. How old are you, Richard?
33.
Oh, no. Well, they're doing.
Did they do a 40 under 40?
You know what? I don't want to insult you, but they're about to release 50 over 50.
Oh, are they?
So, we've got a few years to go until that, but they are about to do that. Yeah.
Oh, funny. I'll. Greenie, my business partner, he might pass for 50, so he's looking a bit weathered for mid-30s. Maybe we can sneak him in.
Yeah.
So go on. For people that are watching that are interested in the whole surplus kind of economy, as it were, because it is kind of an area that isn't necessarily on most people's radar, but it's a big thing. Where does food surplus come from?
It mainly comes from the bit before you get to actually a supermarket. So the piece that the media tend to focus on, or have done historically, has been kind of the wonky veg getting thrown out in supermarkets, and Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall going in and telling off Morrison's for what waste they have in stores at the end of the day. But actually, that's the tip of the iceberg, really, and the vast majority of it sits in the supply chain. But it comes about for all sorts of reasons, really, and the main one being that as humans, we've developed to this point where we expect to be able to go into a supermarket at 11 o'clock at night and the shelves to be full. And therefore, for that to happen, the food industry needs to operate on an industrial scale, which it obviously does. And within that sort of scale of production and how sort of how large and kind of efficient it has to be, there's always going to be things that will go wrong along the way. So all manufacturers that you speak to will always have the best intention to make just as much as they need to go into retailers, but they can't always guarantee that because one little thing can knock it off. And obviously we've had a pandemic, which is, a big event that's kind of affected it. But even something like weather can affect, if a supermarket stocks up on a load of barbecue food for a bank holiday weekend and then it ends up raining, that'll create a lot of surplus. So it can be completely unforeseen circumstances. It's not something to sort of be ashamed of in a way, just because it kind of just happens because of the scale of the industry, really. And date life and stuff like that as well. But generally, it's because we expect our supermarkets to be stocked full. Little things can go wrong, and even just a small percentage of mass production can create quite a lot of surplus stock, if you like, that ends up needing a home.
So kind of at economies of scale, just minor irregularities just create surplus in the system, and then this is a conduit for it to kind of get through back to the consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously, short-datedness is just one of the reasons, but there's all sorts of other things, promotions on packs, old packaging that gets redesigned and stuff like that, and products already being made for it. There's just a ton of reasons, sometimes, well, a lot of the time it's products that launch, but then maybe don't take off as well as the manufacturer or retailer might like, and therefore, they've got some left over. There can be all sorts of reasons. We could probably talk about it all day, but it's basically a product of the industry and how sort of demanding it is, really.
Yeah, this is a good example of Kind Bar, which I'm sure Kind won't mind me mentioning. But you've just got before this podcast, so it was a Christmas flavour, limited edition for last Christmas, and they've just got some overrun. What's the date on it?
September,
middle of September. So that's not too bad, to be fair, but that's too short for a retailer, way too short. Yeah. To get it through their system and stuff. So we specialise in going, that's bread and butter to us. So that's a good example.
That's really interesting. That's a great case study as well. Like you say, if it's September, no one as a shopper going on your website is going to be bothered by that, are they? Because you're going to be buying it to eat in the next few weeks, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah, precisely. But you wouldn't expect to probably go into Tesco or Morrison's or somewhere like that and see that, if you know what I mean. You'd expect it to have probably 9 months on it, like that. So it does get to a point where it's still well within date, but it needs another home, if you like, and that's what we're there for.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I liked about your website is that you flag front and centre the fact that it is surplus and this is what to expect, but it doesn't feel cheap. Like the whole experience is very slick, and as you say in your comms, you do actually preserve the brand integrity as well, and you very much still market the brands and what their USP is, and I think that is very, very distinct and unique compared to a lot of discount routes to market where it just feel a little bit kind of stack 'em high, sell 'em cheap, no frills, which is fine. But I think if you're a bit more discerning and you're buying into that health category, you still want to connect with the brand, don't you? You're still buying the brands because the brands fit with your lifestyle and I guess what you enjoy as a consumer. You don't just want what's available because it's cheap, do you? You want something that's value, but yet it's still kind of distinct and fits with your lifestyle.
Yeah, and I'm glad you say that actually, because that's something that we set out to achieve. Because brands obviously have a value, and certain brands won't want to be associated with discounters, if you like. Which I don't want to use that as a derogatory word, because there's some great discount businesses out there, but we did try to be sort of a level before that, if you like, where we kind of do preserve that brand integrity by not having that discount feel and not necessarily putting that at front and centre. The pricing does kind of speak for itself, really. We don't feel like we need to focus on that and make it feel like that, really. We want to create a good experience and an experience that you'd expect from any online retailer, really, centred around the surplus food message, really, so people understand why these products are there and where they've come from, and the fact that you're buying it for maybe 40 or 50% more in Tesco or Sainsbury's or any other supermarket is not because they're trying to make more money out of you. It's just because it's the product made its way to us as a kind of second resort after that, if you like.
Yeah, that's why we're called Food Circle, the circular economy, Food Circle supermarket, and not healthybargains.com and all that kind of thing. It's very much an intentional preservation of the brands and you're absolutely right, the integrity of them. So yeah, we're always trying to keep them on brand message and all that sort of thing.
Just on that point, because circular economy, that's an interesting word, and we did a podcast recently with Woolcool, actually, it's coming out soon, and it's one of the things that they're really into is the circular economy and looking at kind of how you can maximise the number of inputs back into the system from your outputs. What do you think the industry could do, which it isn't doing? Are there any areas where you think, right, there's some big wins from what we're seeing with surplus, where there's more opportunities for the industry to work harder and solve that problem and be more circular?
Yeah, I think one of my big gripes with especially with supermarkets is like the yellow sticker aisle or the yellow sticker section. It just looks terrible, and it's like they could do so much. I'd love to go into do paid consultancy for Morrison's or whatever and say, look, I'll sort this yellow sticker bit out for you, get it branded up as perfectly. It's what we've got on our best before date section is called Perfectly Good and stuff like that. Where actually you don't feel like you're buying something that's substandard, because that's how it feels when you're going in that yellow sticker bit. It looks dreadful, and it's like going out of date tomorrow. It just looks dreadful, and it's not very well maintained. So it just puts people's image of surplus food as below par and just crap, really. So it's just not a nice experience. And in terms of supermarkets, that would be my point.
I think a big thing in the industry as well is best before dates, and I think people's attitudes are changing towards it because obviously, just a caveat, you'll know this, Richard, but for any listeners that don't, obviously use by and best before have got different functions. Use by is very much a food safety thing, whereas best before is a quality indicator, and I think a lot more can be done around educating people around that, not just to stop household food waste, but also to kind of make sure people are aware that if a product's got a week's best before date left on it, the likelihood is it'll be just as good as the day it was made. And even beyond that best before date, it's probably still going to be just as good as when it was made for quite a while. So I think there's a lot of work to be done around that, and we're sort of starting to do it as well. Like Paul said, we've got a Perfectly Good section now, and Too Good to Go. We're doing a lot of work around the messaging of it as well. I think there's a long way to go in terms of people's understanding of that, and people confusing used by and best before, and maybe that generating unnecessary waste as well.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. One of the things that frustrates me is there's often a perception in the industry that frozen is cheap and is is not good quality. Whereas some of the very good, I've got 4 kids, so a big family. We buy it's just an example, but we buy frozen soft fruits, and the quality of those is as good as chilled. But the wastage on chilled soft fruits is ridiculous. The yellow sticker aisle in the supermarket series this time of year, you go in on a Friday evening, it's just chock full of soft fruits, and often they're still fine the following day. But I just think, well, if people could promote frozen as a kind of a quality, it's not just value, but it's actually quality as well. Because the flavour from I did it this morning, raspberry porridge, put in frozen raspberries into it for the kids, and it was just fantastic. It's as good as buying them chilled. So there's so many things where people buy chilled because they assume it's a better quality, and it's not. It's just not the case.
No, I agree. And home freezing as well. Like I live by myself at the moment, and I'm always freezing stuff because it's difficult for one. You can freeze your leftovers or anything that you don't use up, and it's good for another few weeks or a few months, or it'd probably be good for years if you left it that long. But yeah, I think you're definitely right. Frozen fruit is phenomenal for like making smoothies and stuff like that. Yeah. And I completely agree.
Yeah, I've been having it in my overnight oats. Yeah, which is absolutely excellent.
That's
good.
A great shout. Yeah. Blueberry overnight oats with a bit of honey.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, amazing.
So just kind of a bit of final question on that point then. Are there any things that you think kind of consumers or shoppers that are engaged with this issue of sustainability, the circular economy, can just do in terms of some of their weekly habits that would just make an impact on sort of being better stewards, better custodians of this amazing abundance of food that we've got in our supply chain?
Yeah, I think we just touched on one, like freezing food. Like bread is a big one. You don't have to keep bread out because it does go moldy so quickly, doesn't it? You can stick bread in the freezer. That's a quick one. Getting educated on best before dates and being open to being educated on what they are and what they mean and the difference between that and use by dates. But I suppose that is led by retailers as well, needing to help with that, and retailers like us as well. We sort of looked at ourselves and thought, how can we be a surplus food retailer and adhere to this bizarre best before date thing where we say, right, we're not selling it past best before date. So yeah, that was a learning point for us as well. And yeah, just being more open to, portion control as well. And yeah, just being more educated on how to, just little quick, what's it called? Life hacks.
Yeah, I agree. And I think everybody can be better at sort of buying what they need rather than sort of what they think they need. I think we're all guilty of that, walking around the supermarket and buying a load of stuff when you're hungry or whatever, that maybe doesn't end up getting used, or you don't use it quickly enough or whatever. But yeah, I think Paul's right, really. I think people's knowledge and around best before dates, I mean, it's changed massively. I mean, we've been working in this industry for 7 years now, and I think we've come a long way in that time. I think people are a lot more tuned into it now, a lot more savvy about it. But like I said before, I think there's still work to be done, and people still do sort of confuse those different terminologies. So I think maybe there's an industry piece of work that needs a lot of people to buy into it, to maybe change that terminology or change that wording to make it easier for people to understand.
Yeah, right. That's really interesting. And kind of just moving on to the future for you guys. Where do you see the future of Food Circle, and have you got any sort of exciting projects in the pipeline that worth sharing with the guys listening or watching?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, the future is, and our future has always been, and the reason we're called Supermarket is that we want to be an all-round supermarket for surplus food. We want to be the Ocado of surplus food, is what we say. The goal has been to make buying surplus food normal for the everyday person, which I'm sure we feel like we've done, but we want to provide a wider, more categories. I'd love to start doing chilled products and frozen stuff in the future, which we've proven is possible in e-commerce. So yeah, that's the ultimate goal for sure. It's going to take a long time, and we are starting to get there. Like we just started doing peanut butters, so started working with Meridian. Beanies coffee, so moving into coffee as well. Little meal pots and things like that.
Yeah, we're getting there gradually.
drinks.
Basically, we're adding new sort of categories all the time, trying them out, seeing how they go, and trying to find the audience for them. Really, because there's obviously an audience out there for all this stuff, because it's exactly the same stuff as what supermarkets are buying in and what your high street shops are buying in. So it's just about building that out, which is a gradual process, really. But to have more of a range and to appeal to more people, and like Paul says, to make surplus food a more normal thing in the population. That's the aim, really. And shorter term, it's just about taking the small steps to get there.
Great. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Go on then. Where can people find you? Where can people look you up? What's the website URL, and where can people kind of follow you on social?
So Google us. Everyone, people Google now, don't they? Who enters a full URL address in and press enter? So if you just type in Food Circle into your address bar, we'll come up straight away. If you want to type in the full thing, it's foodcirclesupermarket.co.uk. Twitter, Food Circle UK, Instagram, Food Circle Supermarket, Facebook, Food Circle Supermarket, and most importantly, TikTok. Food Circle.
Okay,
TikTok, honestly, Richard. If this was a marketing podcast, I would be banging on about TikTok all the way through, because it's the place to be at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
Is it really that successful at the moment? Because I've seen now, I've forgotten his name, James, he does Marcus Bowden's barbecue TikToks.
Oh.
Anyway, there's this guy I follow on LinkedIn, but he's always banging on about TikTok and how well it does for them. But how long have you been doing that then? Because it's still pretty new, isn't it, TikTok, for most food companies? I don't know if many people are.
Yeah, it's really the last 6 months that we've started really focusing on it. We've had an account on for about a year, I think, but to me, it's in a place where Instagram probably was about 5-6 years ago, where kind of the reach that you can get on there organically is really good. And if you're paying per view or paying per click or whatever, it's in a place where it's great value for money at this stage, because people are still adopting it. But the results that we're getting from it and the reach that we're getting is amazing. So it's definitely the next big thing to come along, for sure.
Cool. Right. Well, guys, if you've been enjoying today, go and follow Paul, James, what they're doing with Food Circle on social. Check out the website. You'll get some great value product that's really good as well. You'll come across some brands you've not seen before. That's what we like it for. As much as anything else, just find out new brands. I think that the best brand we came across through you guys was You Fit Crunchers, those barbecue ones. They are to die. They're just like the best crisp. It's just so healthy as well. Just like really high in protein, really high in fibre, low calorie. Just cracking. Just nailed it. Yeah, great product.
Yeah. People love them. Since we got them in, they've been so popular. So I'm glad to hear that you've enjoyed them as well.
Yeah, no, they were good. But guys, thanks so much for joining. It's been great fun. I love what you're doing, and we'll certainly be keeping tabs. So if you've enjoyed it, guys, check them out, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, Richard. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. Check out the playlist here for more content like this. Click the donuts to subscribe so you never miss an update, and give us a like and a comment so we know what content you'd like to see from us. See you next time.